Howdy, I'm James. I'm Matt. And in this video we're going to show you 7 tips on how to master the focus mitts.
Focus mitts are obviously a really important part of training, but they are very commonly misused.
So we're going to show you the exact way in which you should be holding them, striking them, so you can get really good.
Let's do this. Okay, firstly we're going to take a look at the pad holder's role. Now this is really important because a bad pad holder can make even the most experienced champion look bad on the pads. So we're going to be looking at 3 key things to remember when you're using focus mitts. Okay, number 1, clear targets. It's really important that your partner understands exactly what they've got to hit and when. To do this, we're going to hold the pads into our body, so James knows there's currently no signal. As soon as I pop up the pad, it's very clear, he can see it, and then I'll return it back, okay? So we've got left hand and back, right hand and back. Each time, it's a really clear signal, he knows exactly what he's hitting and when. Okay, the second rule is to remember your movement. We don't obviously just want to stand in one spot holding the pads, we want to move around as we're doing it, okay? So I'm going to be on my toes, pads in to the body, we do our moves, and then we get back on our toes. Constantly moving around to make it more realistic. Rule number 3 is combination punching. Now this is difficult to do without pre-learned sequences. You can check our other videos for some instances and examples of ones that we've already done. For now we're just going to show you what a few pre-loaded sequences would look like. Number 2. Number 3. Number 1. 2, 3. 3, 2. 1. Without doing pre-learned sequences, the problem is midway through the round, you have to start developing your own. And in a 2-minute round of boxing, you'll spend 1.5 minutes of that trying to work out in your head, jab, cross, let's do a hook, and making up the sequence. So it cuts down time and it allows you to go straight into a nice fast round.
Having trouble putting my glove on. Right, so now the pad holder is holding the pads like an experienced pro. It's time to look at what the puncher and kicker should be doing. Now, the first rule for the puncher and kicker is to treat it as though you're in a proper sparring match. No matter how basic, how simple the techniques are, you must make sure you treat it like you're in a proper fight. So, for example, even if it's just the most basic jab we're practicing, I don't just stand there doing this, sort of looking around the room, see what everyone else is doing, or if you're at home training, starting to watch Big Brother or something on telly, you treat it as though it's a proper sparring match. So that means I'm going to be up on my toes, the person will be doing some punches back, so I'm going to move my head, I'm blocking, and I'm doing the techniques as though I was in a match. Even if I'm doing the techniques slow, I'm still covering in and out of range, as though we are in a proper fight, and it adds a bit of urgency to the round. So even if the pad holder is a complete newbie, they don't know what they're doing, and all they're doing is they're just holding the pads out like this and they're not really doing a lot, instead of me reciprocating that and just doing this, I can still move like I'm in a real life situation. I can still bounce and move, so I'll develop the proper technique and the right tactics. So the next drill, and we see the next point to make, and we see this happen all the time, is that start off slow and then gradually pick the speed and power up as you feel more comfortable. Because as coaches, we see it happen a lot, where the minute the pad comes up, technique goes up the window, and they just try and hit it as hard as possible. So you all, no matter what the drill, whether it's a simple single punch like this, or whether it's a combination like boxing combo 4, whether it's a combination with lots of techniques, you start off slow and then you gradually pick the speed and power up. And this is to stop this happening. So obviously if I know how to do the technique fast and the pad holder doesn't do combo 4, and I go really fast, and you just get completely mixed up. So make sure you start off slow, and then you can, when the pad holder's ready and the puncher's ready, you can pick the speed and power up. This is to ensure that you keep good technique and minimise the risk of injury. The next point is make sure that you are specific with what you're going to practice and make sure that the pad holder is in charge. And what I mean by that is that if you're going to be working the pads, there should be some sort of specific reason as to why you're practicing the pad work. Could be for fitness, could be to practice punching while on the back foot. So make sure you stick to that and that the pad holder is in charge. So if we use that as a case in point, let's pretend I'm practicing moving around on the back foot and I want to try and fire my jab as I'm moving. Let's pretend that's the drill. Okay. What I want to do is make sure I stick to that specific drill. Okay, so we see this happen a lot. We'll start the round off and that'll happen. So I'll be on my toes moving, practicing it well, and then eventually that'll just end up just on the spot, doing this. And completely disregarding the whole point of the exercise in the first place. So whatever the pad holder says, goes. So whatever round you're doing, if Matt says I'm going to practice in close fighting as an example, and I'm going to stay in close, then I make sure my full focus is on that specific drill of being in close. I'm not just ignoring what he's saying and going back to doing what I want to do. Okay, so the next point is making sure that you focus on a specific skill and you adhere to that for the whole round. And the final drill is consistency. So make sure that you're practicing these drills every time you're in class or when you're at home training and you're holding the focus mix. Is try and recap, review, and make sure you're using these points in your pad holding or when you're doing the moves on the pads as well.